Hi, just want to give you a quick little update on Project 964 and the things we've done to it since it's been here. Cosmetically, this car is in great shape. It looks really good, especially with these wheels. Just the little touches that need doing were here in the engine bay. We noticed that this insulation mat was somewhat missing, somewhat disintegrated, which is a very common thing on these 911s. If you can imagine, it's very hot in here, and this mat usually kind of suffers over time. So what you see, it usually starts crumbling here. On this one, actually, chunks were missing. So just at the back, we had to pull it out and replace it. Now, this is a very common thing on 911s. On a 911 Carrera 4, though, it's a little more difficult because you can't easily drop the engine just a little bit to give you a little more room to work. So what we ended up doing was removing the airbox, the blower motor, parts of the intake here and the mass airflow sensor, just to give you a little bit more room to get this in, because it's kind of a tricky job, but we got it done, and so can you. Another thing on this car was that the fan looked pretty dirty, and again, another common thing, the finish on these over time kind of just starts looking worse. So what we did was we pulled the fan out. We actually did the whole fan and the housing. If you really wanted to, it is possible just to get the fan out. It is a bit of a hassle because in our case too, they're usually pretty fused together, so it's hard to get out. But if you really must and don't want to touch the alternator or the wiring behind it, it is possible just to get the fan out. We did both. Let me close this. Then as you can see, the interior on this car is really wonderful. The only thing really that I noticed was that these door caps here over the switches for the dome light were missing, so we replaced those on both sides. All right, so underneath, this car has been dry ice blasted before, which is not only great from an aesthetic point of view and makes everything look great, you can also very easily diagnose oil leaks or anything wrong with the car. This car wasn't leaking any oil, and they've done work to it, so that's always a good sign. Here though, at the drop links at the back, these don't look that nice, and I actually noticed, I'll show you in a second, the ones at the front were perished, so we're going to replace these still. Parts haven't come in, but these are still on the agenda. Going forwards, we noticed that on this side, the outer tie rod boot was cracked, you can see here, and this is very sloppy, so it's a good thing we replaced this. This isn't too bad yet, but at some point this will probably have started clunking. And then here we have the sway bar links, same thing. The boot was just completely perished here. Again, not bad yet, but would have probably started clunking pretty soon afterwards. We also noticed this was the tie rod we replaced. The boot here for the steering rack was also cracked, so that was two birds, one stone. To replace that with this tie rod out, we could just easily slide that out. So we did that as well. This side was all fine, no boots cracking or anything, but again, we did replace the sway bar link. Then here at the front, you have these little rubber tubes here. These are for your drainage. If you ever get water in there, it comes back out, and nothing can go back in with this tube in it. With the tube missing, you may have some water ingress if you drive through a puddle or anything like that. Not something to really worry about here in Arizona. Still, we replaced two. And then I forgot to tell you just now, getting the fan out at the back. This here is the fan bearing hub. The actual fan rides on this. Like I said, to get the fan loose from the alternator. They're pretty fused together, so you're going to have to need to use a puller or something like a press or anything to get it out. No different case for us. For us too, they were pretty fused together, so just for good measure, we replaced the bearing hub as we had to apply some force to get it off. It still spins fine, and it probably would have been fine, but just for good measure, we replaced it. So that was it for the mechanical side, the cosmetics we just talked about. With that done, we're excited to bring this back over into detail, make this car look even prettier, and we're very excited to see what it'll do on Bring a Trailer.